As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the small village, a group of children gathered under the large baobab tree. They were excited, chattering about the evening ahead. Sitting on a colorful mat was Auntie Oma, a kind woman with a gentle smile and a twinkle in her eye. She had lived through many adventures, and tonight she was going to share one of her most memorable stories from when she was a child. "Come closer, children," Auntie Oma said, her voice soft and inviting. "I have a special story to tell you, one from when I was about your age." The children huddled together, their eyes wide with curiosity. The cool evening breeze rustled the leaves, creating a perfect backdrop for the story to unfold. Auntie Oma began, her voice filled with nostalgia. "Our apartment was in the heart of Accra, nestled between vibrant markets and lively streets. My mother, Kwabina, had always worked hard to provide for us. Our home was a small, cozy space, decorated with traditional Ghanaian fabrics and bright patterns. It was a place filled with warmth and love, but now it was about to become the stage for a mystery I never expected." My mother's voice was filled with a mix of anxiety and hope as she spoke to me. "Oma, I have to go to Kumasi for a few days. Mr. Koffi will be here to take care of you. He's a good man, but remember, if you need anything, don't hesitate to call me." As my mother packed her bags, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervous excitement. Mr. Koffi had always seemed like a mystery wrapped in a warm smile. He was polite but had a certain guardedness about him that made me curious. The first night was quiet, too quiet. Mr. Koffi's movements were deliberate and oddly secretive. He went into his study, and I noticed him lock the door behind him. My curiosity was piqued, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Unable to sleep, I crept down the hall to listen. I could hear Mr. Koffi speaking softly on the phone, his voice tense. "They are getting too close," he said. "I can't let them find out." I returned to my room, my heart racing. What was Mr. Koffi involved in? Why was he so worried? My mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. The next day, I resolved to find out what Mr. Koffi was hiding. While he was out, I tiptoed to the study. The door was still locked, but I noticed a small key hidden under a decorative vase in the hallway. My hands shook as I inserted it into the lock and turned. Inside, the room was filled with papers, books, and a large, ornate safe. I approached the safe with a mixture of fear and excitement. Inside, I found documents with strange symbols and names. Some of the pictures were of people I didn't recognize, and others were of Mr. Koffi with a serious expression, meeting with various individuals. The discovery sent a chill down my spine. Was Mr. Koffi involved in something dangerous? My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the door opening. I quickly locked the safe and slipped the key back under the vase, returning to my room just in time. The days that followed were filled with mounting tension. Mr. Koffi's behavior became even more erratic. He would leave the apartment for long stretches and come back with new, strange items. Sometimes, I would see a shadowy figure outside our window, and it made me wonder if the figure was connected to Mr. Koffi's secrets. One day, I found a hidden drawer in the study with more papers and a journal. The journal had notes about secret meetings and codes. I felt scared but knew I had to find out more. I decided it was time to confront Mr. Koffi. One evening, as he came home, I gathered all the papers and the journal and waited for him. My heart was pounding. I was scared but determined. "Mr. Koffi," I said, my voice trembling, "I found these documents." "What are you hiding?" Mr. Koffi looked shocked and tried to explain, but his words were jumbled. He admitted that he had been involved in something dangerous but was trying to protect us from it. Just then, my mother came back earlier than expected. She found me and Mr. Koffi in the middle of our confrontation. Mr. Koffi confessed everything to her. He had been involved in some bad things, but he had tried to turn away from them to keep us safe. The police came and took Mr. Koffi away. My mother was upset but relieved that the truth was out. She hugged me tightly and promised that we would be safe. We moved away from that apartment and started a new life. My mother and I grew closer, and I learned some important lessons. Even though I was scared, I found the courage to stand up for what was right. And even in difficult times, there is always hope for a better future. As time went on, I realized that my adventure had taught me some important lessons. I learned that being brave isn't about not being afraid, it's about facing your fears and doing what you know is right, even when it's hard. I also learned that honesty and trust are important. My mother trusted me to do the right thing, and that helped us get through the tough times. Another lesson I learned was about helping others. Even though I was scared, I knew that if I hadn't stood up and looked for the truth, things could have been much worse. Sometimes, helping others can mean making difficult choices and taking risks. But in the end, it's worth it to make things better. Today, when I look back on those days, I feel proud of how I faced the challenges. I know that life will always have its ups and downs, but if you face them with courage, honesty, and kindness, you can overcome anything. And remember, no matter how scary things might seem, there's always a way to make things better, just like we did. The children gathered around Auntie Oma, their eyes filled with wonder and admiration. The story had not only entertained them but also taught them valuable lessons about bravery, honesty, and helping others. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the children thanked Auntie Oma for sharing her story. They left with a newfound sense of courage and hope, ready to face their own adventures with the lessons they had learned.